Okay, good morning, everyone. How are we doing? Blessing, what is the matter? What is wrong? Everybody's saying we are pushing, we are pushing. Okay. Is the task difficult, or how many of us have figured it out? Okay, best. If you know you figured it out, just raise up your hand. Let me see. Okay. Okay. Just 3 people. Yeah, problem. Four people. Oh, or more. It should be more than that. Okay, nice one, Sha. Okay. We can drop our hands. Okay. Yeah. So, what do we do? So it's not so difficult. Let me share my screen. I don't think it's difficult. I know most of us took a while before we were able to get to that point to solve it, to figure it out. I think Blessing was in my DM for a couple of he was in my DM, and then before he was able to figure it out. I've not looked at what he did share, but I believe he must have gotten it. So okay. So can we see my screen? Yeah, I'll need somebody to talk. Can we see my screen?
Okay.
Yes,
Yes, we can
boss.
see your screen.
All right. Okay, so I'll be going back and forth today. So I'm not with an extra monitor, so let's be able to. Okay. So we've been working with APIs. We've looked at how to create, how to So let me check something out. So we're able to. Sorry. We did create. We did delete. We did. Did we do delete? Sorry, I'm trying to confirm something here. Am I adding it at the beginning? Okay, I didn't change this. So I'm adding it at the beginning. I didn't change blessings. This. Yes. So I didn't change something. So that's why it's like that. So let's just look at what we have so far. Or does anybody have any question prior to from the previous class? I know the last class was it was okay. We didn't do delete, so we'll do delete today. So from the previous class, I know the previous class was something else because I don't think I prepared well for that class. I just came in and then we started doing stuff. So does anybody have a question from the previous class? Did you try something out and then it didn't work for you? Or yeah, I'd like to know. Nonetheless, I will still go over it a bit just to bring us up to speed. Okay, so I don't think there's any question. So we'll go over this again.
Can't hear you. Am I the only one?
I think his network. I think he's gone. He's having network issues.
Okay, so sorry guys, just hold on a minute, please.
So sorry, apologies for that internet issues. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen again. And okay, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. So I was saying, we have a page. So let me open that page. So we have this page. I combined it with a couple of things. So let me reload this so that we have. So we have this page, and we're supposed to populate it with data. This data is coming from somewhere else, from a server. So someone set up this back end and stored this 100 messages or 100 posts. And then we want to, populate the page with this information, with this data. So what do? We use we use fetch. So fetch is it's a tool. Let me just call it a tool actually. So you use it to make requests to communicate with your back end. So it's like a bridge where, yeah, that helps you to get information from your back end and use it on your front end, or send information from your front end and use it on your back end. So the thing with fetch is fetch gives you uh, either a resolve or a rejection. So it gives you a promise actually. So that promise now is more like, liken it to a human promise. So it's more like I might decide to fulfill your So I might decide to fulfill the promise I make to you, or I might decide to not fulfill it. So that's me rejecting or accepting the promise. So that's what happens in fetch. So like I said, I'm doing it. Okay, I did it functionally. So I had to create a function to get posts. So when I'm trying to get a post, what do I do? So inside my get post function, I need to now start with the fetch keyword. Then I need to pass in the URL to where I'm getting this post from. So this URL now, if you're working with your back end, this will be your back end. That's the endpoint where you want to get a particular information from. So it will be different from what is here, definitely. So when you pass in the URL, I said fetch in its basic form is a get request. We have different verbs. When I say verbs, I mean posts, updates, I mean create, read, update, delete. These are the basic operations. So when I say create is you posting. You're using a post method. When I say uh, read, read means you're getting you're getting data and you're reading it. Update means you're editing, so you're using put or patch. So there's put or patch method. Then delete is the same thing. So you're using the delete method. So for getting a post, that means we will have to use a get method. Now I said fetch in its basic form uses the same, as in it's a get method. So without even passing any method in your object, you can just use it that way. So you use fetch, then you do a dot then. So this dot then gets a response from this request that you made. So you're asking the waiter, okay, do we have posts when you go to this endpoint? So you go into a supermarket and you're like, okay, do you have meat pie? And it's either for the guy to say, oh, I have to it or Json. You now have to get the particular, that as in the raw data that you can use on your front end. Now, we played around with, sorry, I have to be going back and forth, or I don't know if I do this, whether it works. Okay, let me just run this. I need to be seeing some things. Okay. Blessing, you expand on that on that afterwards. I am not getting it. Yeah. So Gomina is there, she's attending to your needs. Okay. So like I said, you get a response and you convert it to JSON. When you convert it to JSON, you need the formats that you can use on your front end. So what I did here was I console logged it first to know what I am getting. So if I open my browser here, sorry, please can you help me, please? So if I open my browser and inspect, sorry about the background noise. So we have an array of 100 items. So this is my data. It's so recall that arrays are usually zero index. So they start from zero and then go on. Okay, so for me to be able to use this, to display this on my page, I had to come to my index.html. And now, if you remember when I gave an assignment on displaying displaying different cars, so you notice that we had to select a particular place where we will inject our layouts, whatever we look through and get. So our array, when we look through our array, for each item, we need to place it inside that particular section. So if you look here now, we have row, and then what follows is this column section. So if you notice what is repeating here, so we have call MD4, another call MD4. So this is repetitive. So what you need to do is you need to just select a particular section. So since I know what I will keep doing is getting called MD4, so I need to just pick from here to here. I just need only one, and that works for me. So when I get this, I need to select where I want to inject it. That's why I gave this an ID of post layout. So coming back here now for me to simplify work for myself, so I did this post layout. I selected it. When you're using get element by ID, you're actually selecting a post. You're selecting an element. So get element by ID, query selector, get by class name. Those are actually those are selectors used in JavaScript. So for me to use this effectively, I had to create an empty array, user posts, and then I injected my data. I replaced this data coming in here inside this user post. I want so that I'll be able to control whatever I am getting. So if I want to redisplay it on my page, I'll be able to do that effectively without having issues. So I created a HTML and assigned it to empty string. So this data now is an array. Me putting it inside this user post is still an array, but I'm just taking this value and putting it inside another value. So it's just like me just changing containers. So this one is the container. This is the plate of rice. I came back with this from a birthday party, and I decided to change it into my pot so that I'll be able to warm it anytime I want to warm it. So that's just what is happening there. And I'm not funny, sure. So that being said, um, so since this is an array, this user post is an array, I need to look through each of them. So I said you can use either a for loop or a for each. So you can use either a for loop or a for each. So what happens now is I reassign my HTML. Inside my HTML now, I do this addition. What do they call it again? I've forgotten the name of this. So I do this addition and equals, and then I use template string and I pass in that section. So you see, this is my call MD4. I know I added some extra style in here so that it will actually look nicer. So when I do this, I now have to now select my post layout and then inject it into the inner HTML. So I am storing. So I'm storing this. I'm injecting my HTML into this post layout, and that is how we're able to display all of this. Sorry, give me a moment. Okay, can you guys still hear me? Oh, can you hear me now? Can you guys
Yes.
hear me? All right,
Yes.
all right, all right. Okay, so that goes for anybody confused with that? For get, for a get request. So I believe we are clear on that. Okay. Okay, I think that one is clear for everyone. Okay, so we'll go into creating now. Now for my form. So if you check, what I did was, so let me close this again now. So here now, at the top of my page, so I have this create post section. Now, you need to connect this section. You need to connect your input fields to your function so that you'll be able to communicate effectively. So when I say connect, I mean you need to select these input fields so that you can use them to send information. That's via your function. So I have this function create post here. Now, like we explained in the last class, what happens in a form is when you click on submit, the submit reloads or refreshes your page. So for us to do that, we need to do this prevent default. So first things first, I selected my post title, my post body, and then my form. So all of these, they are coming from here. Thought I did this. So I have, this is my form. It has to be inside, it has to be within a form since I have to submit it. So it actually depends on what, it might not be a form, but most times using a form is best or is better. So what happens here is I select my input field. So this is type of text. So I gave an ID of post title. For the text area, I gave an ID of post body. Then my button is of type submit. If you don't put this type submit and you're trying to do submit, it will not work. So when I've selected that, so I did document gets elements by ID, post title. I didn't use an hash here because this is ID and an ID is working on an ID, so no need for an hash. But this one now that is query selector, my reason for doing this is so that you know the difference, you know the differences basically, and then know that this is workable. So there was a point I was actually doing just this, and somebody said that this is ancient. So that what is used now is query selector. Okay, so back to what I was saying. Sorry about that. So when we've done all of that, we've selected them. we now add an event listener to our form. So this form add event listener. So it listens for when there's a submission, when you click on submit. So when you click on submit, it calls this create post. So when it calls this create post, this happens. So for us to prevent, so because we are submitting, if we don't pass in this event and prevent default and preventing default. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's fine. Okay, so back to what I was saying. Sorry about that. So what happened here is after preventing default, after preventing the default system, I now have to select. All right. Sorry about that. I'm having some interferences here. Okay, so I need to get the value because just selecting this won't give you the value, the actual value that is that the user puts in the input field. So that's why I had to now reassign this. So I use let. So to I'm now reassigning it to p title here. So this is the title from here. This is post title. And because it's a let, I now reassigned it to this. So p title dot value, for you to get the value, I now reassign it to p title here, or post title rather. Then for the body, I also did the same thing. So this console log is not necessary. So now the difference between the get, the other get. So I say fetch is basically a get. You use a get method in its normal form. But this one now, we now have to pass in this object as well as the body and then the headers. So we are creating a post, we are passing the body, you're passing in the user input now. Get request did not need the user input, and it did not need this method. So this is a post method. Then for your input now, you're stringifying what you're getting, as in what you get from the input field. So we have title, we have body, then the user's ID. So these are based on the back end, what the back end wants. So like I showed you the other time, it's expecting what a title, a body, and then who is the person posting it? What's the user's ID? So IDs are unique. So that's something that we should have at the back of our mind. They are unique. So that's why we are also passing in the user ID. So as I am now, I cannot come and post. I don't think I can come and just post on your timeline on Facebook or on Twitter or something of that sort. So that's why it's a unique thing. So in the same vein, when you do a post request, you get a response, and then that response you need to convert it to JSON. So when you convert it to JSON, you now get the value, the data here. So this data now, so we're now saying how do we put it on our page? And that was what led us to thinking about. So we're testing things out the last time. So we tried on shift. On shift puts, since it's an array, so for us to put it inside our array, we need to do a post. Now, post adds it at the end of the array. So that's why if we change this now to posts and we try again here, oops. Okay. I think I need to run this again. Okay. I think it's official way. Sorry, this thing is. My VS Code is having some issues, so let me just try and fix it. Okay. Okay. I think it's working now. All right. So now, if I just type okay. So I should have this, and I don't have it. What happened? Sorry. User posts. We have an error. Should be push, sorry, not posts. It's actually a push. Probably you missed something, happiness. So it's actually a push. So you need to push into that particular array and then display it. So let's try again. So I wrote post instead. Very funny. Ouch. So I'll do this and I'll just write something. And I post. So we have 101 and it gives me this alert. I put this alert so that I'll know if it went through or it did not. So when I do this at the bottom here, so because it's a post, look at where it's added itself. So if I add another one, it keeps going down. Okay. So we should take note of this. So it keeps adding here. But like we said, this ID doesn't, as in you can't change it for now because this is not, you don't have access. You don't have access to it. You only have access to just do once. And then after that, you cannot increment on that particular server. So it keeps repeating, it just keeps adding to your imaginary array. And then because if you reload this page now, this whole stuff goes off. But if you're working with your own with a back-end person, oh, sorry. So if you're working with your own back-end, you have that ability to alter posts and do anything with what you get. So the IDs will keep changing based on what you do. So so coming back, let me just explain this. So it's still the same thing that we did. So first things first, you need to push. When you push now, you need to still select that same layout. So there's something about this layout. You can either do it at the top here and just select it from anywhere because this is repetition actually. So let me try this. So I think you can actually do that. So maybe. So no, the thing about programming, sometimes you need to obey some principles. So let's just see. So I put it outside the function. So my functions should be able to still pick that. So if I just add some random stuff and I click. So I have post created successfully. Let's see. So you see it adds here. So instead of me doing this repetition of having to select the layouts inside each of them, since I know all of them are still going to use the same layout, so I could just put it at the top there and then still do this same thing here. So this is the same thing. So you select the HTML, and then since you're looping through is an array that you're still getting here, you're pushing into this array. So this information is an object. It's not an array like the other one where you're getting an array. This one you're getting an object of what you created. So you have to push it into this array. Then based on that now, since you have this array inside here now, you now do a for each and then still inject it inside here. Still inject it inside your HTML for your post layout. So that's the way that one works. Does anybody have a question based on that? Yes, so yes, you set it as a global option. Yeah, it's global. Okay, so that's for that. Then for updates, so update is almost the same thing like for you creating a post. So I think we had an issue doing that the last time, but I'll give a big shout out to Timmy. I think Timmy helped me to understand what to understand how to cross that hurdle. I was not looking at it that way, but he actually did something nice there. Okay, so for updates, so back to this now. So I'm going to reload this so that we'll have this. So this is what we have. Now, this happens, if you notice now, if we create a post, you see that we don't have that update button. Reason being that in our script.js here, so for create posts, we have just one button here, which is just delete button. So when we are populating this thing again here, we exclude this other button. So this is, sorry, I'm coming. So this is the button for updating. I think it's best for our buttons to just be the same. So I'm going to put this here. I'm also going to put this here so that there's uniformity. So the warning button, so that anytime that even if we create a post, if we create a post, the update button is still there. If we delete a post, the update button is still there. So let's just try again. I don't know if we understand what I mean. When I do this, so this update button is still here. So let me see. Okay. So coming back now. So for updates now, so it's the same thing like when you're creating a post. The only thing, the difference is that you're not passing in a prevent default now. I'm picking the title, the value of the title, and picking the value of the body. Now I'm stringifying this and putting it up here. So I'm making it dynamic. The last time we were trying it, we just assigned values here at once, and we were trying to see if it will work. And the last time it wasn't working. So when you do this, when you set it up dynamically, you're picking the title, the values from the title inputs and the title body, because when you say somebody should update, you require data from the person. You require the person to input something. So when you do that, you need to stringify it using you need to stringify what you're getting and then pass it inside the body. Note where this is happening, inside the body. Then it still goes through the same process. So you get a response, and that response now, you need to convert it to a JSON format. Yeah. So this response on JSON converts it. Then you now get the data now. So let's try it out and just see. So then there's something else I'm supposed to actually show you. So when I do this, I am saying, okay, so I know how to spell. Okay, so I'm not clicking on post now. I am here. So it depends on how your design is. So based on that, that's how you're going to do it. So I am here now, and I want to update this post. So when I click on update, see what happens. When I say since I've not cleared my input field, if I try this again, this happens. So what happens? We are getting an object. So if you come back here now, here we are console logging the object that we are getting, which is this. So the title is happiness, the body is one good turn. So when we come back here, how do we do that? So we know that when you're doing a query selector gets a particular So it gets a particular item or a particular element. Now there's something called query selector all. Now query selector all gives you an array. So let me just console.log this so that we understand what is happening here. So what's going to happen here is when this, I need to click on this my update button before something happens. And then see one funny experience now. So you see why validation is necessary. You need to do validation whenever you're expecting input from your user. Else, the person will just submit rubbish for you. So I didn't pass anything inside here, and I clicked on submit. And then here, nothing is showing. No post was made, but I've updated it, and look at what is happening. So what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to explain your node, your what do they call it? Your query selector all. Now you see we have this thing, we have a node list of 100. Now this selects your post title. So it counts how many post titles do you have. So since we have 100 elements, basically, so we now have 100 post title. That's your class post title. So we are saying select all the post titles. So it selected all of them and it gave us 100 here. Now, since that is an array, you're getting an array from your query selector. You now have to check. So I selected my post body here, my post title, since I'm attending to them individually now. Now, you now have to check if, the index is usually 0 based, but the post ID. So notice what is happening here. I have this parameter here, post ID. This is my button. So I'm using this now. So this is my button. Now I have to pass this inside here. This is my update post method or function. Now I have to pass this inside here. So when I pass this e.id is coming from here. So a particular element, the ID of a particular element, I'm passing it here. You need the ID to update. You need the ID to also delete. So that's why I'm passing it inside here. Now, when you do that, you need to compare the index. If you add 1 to the index, does it equate, is it equals to this, the post ID that is coming inside here via this method? Does it equate it? So So we are saying the index, if we add 1 to the index, is it equals to this post ID? So if 1 is the if so, let's just look at this critically. So if we are saying, if we are doing for this one, so if 1 is, if this is it now, this is 0. which is the ID. So if it's equal to the ID, change the text content. So this title, which is this one, change this text content. So when you change the text content, replace it with what you're getting inside here. So your data is an object which consists of your title and the body. So change the text content with the title that is coming, that you after updating it. So with the title that comes from, so an object, you access an object using the object name dot the object property. So when you do that one for the title, you also do same for the for the body. So when you do that, you're able to update your post. So that's what happens here. That's what happens in the update. So the other one that I want to touch now, I need to be a bit snappy, is the delete. So what happens in delete? So delete basically removes from an array or removes an item. So you need to pass in the delete method to specify that you're doing a delete. So like I said, you need to pass a parameter. You need an ID for you to be able to delete. So since we are doing a delete, we need to pass in this ID. Now, normally you don't get a response. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay. All right. So when we do a delete, let's just start with this. So this is what happens. Now we get this is line 105. So we get an empty object because when we delete, we don't get a response. That element has been removed. So you don't need to get, you don't get something from it. You just get maybe a status that okay, it has been deleted, but you don't get a return value from it. So how do we fix that up? How do we know what is happening there? So you still do the same method. So you convert to JSON, you get your data. Now recall that we have this user post array. Now we need to filter this particular element. So we are filtering it and we are reassigning it back into this user post. So that's why on this side, you see me having user posts and then we are filtering. So you need to understand your methods, your array methods, because they kind of help you to understand what to do at a particular point, which method to use at a particular point. So what happens in a filter? So a filter, it loops through an array and picks each item, it checks each item. So what we are saying here is for each item now, which is post, check if the ID, the post ID if the post ID is not equals to this ID that you're passing in here, if it's not equals to this ID you're passing inside here, put it back into this user post array. So that means if you filter through it, the only thing that will go out of this if is one that we are passing inside here now. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so okay. So if we are passing in, so say for instance our post ID. If our post ID is equals to 1 here. So when we come inside, when we come to this point now, where we are filtering, we're now saying, okay, we have 100, we have from 0, no, not, we are not doing an index. We have from 1 to 100. So filter now goes through this. So when it comes to this point now, when it comes to the first item, it sees that, okay, this is 1. It excludes that one from the array, goes to the next item. So you're saying we need to pick items that their ID is not equals to number 1. So because this one is number 1, it removes it, goes to the next item, checks. Okay, the ID is 2. Okay, it's not the same thing as 1. It's not equals to 1. Okay, I put it back inside the user post. It goes to number 3, checks. Okay, 3 is not equals to 1. Okay, I put it inside the user post. So when you finish doing all of that now, you now still have to now re-render your interface. So when I say re-render now, you now have to select this. So like I said, you may not need to repeat this thing over and over again. Since I've done this above, I think this should work. So I'm deleting that. So I do my HTML and my user posts here, which is this. I am doing a for each. So remember that number 1, if it's number 1 that is entering here, number 1 has gone out. So I have from 2 to 100, from ID 2 to 100. So that's why when we come here now, even if I come here, delete number 5 now. So 5 goes off. So we have 4, we have 6. So it has removed that 5 and then left 6. So if I click here now to delete again, it removes 6 and leaves 7. So it just filters all the ones that are not equals to that particular item. And now because this is not refreshing, this is just believing that this is a particular state. So when we remove number 1, it's as if number 1 has gone out from the array, and then you're now using the updated array now. So when you remove number 6, it assumes that okay, 1 and 6 is out, so I have to deal with the other arrays. So I believe we understand what is happening there. So you just need to re-render it the same way. So I think it's something that we can relate with. Does anybody have any question? Yeah, Motayo, do you have a question? Do we have any question? Nobody has a question? Okay, I just want to, can you guys hear me? Let me just be sure.
Yes, we can.
Okay, okay. So, yeah. So I think you need to just practice it. So that's the thing. That's the funny thing about learning. You may not, yeah. The update and delete, you need to go through it. So the basic thing is for updates, you need to select all of them, because if we say let us select a particular one, you're going to get the first item. So if we have something like post title, so if, because why it is that way is because, let me just explain this again. So why it is that way is because okay, so we have this class here, a class of post title. So I use class because IDs are meant to be unique. So classes can cover, you can repeat classes, but IDs are not meant. We cannot have two Chidiogos, we cannot have two best, we cannot have two, so we are not supposed to. Even if you're twins, you're different in your own way. So, but for classes, everybody in web development, in front end class, you people are learning the same thing. You people are going through the same task. You do the same task together. So that is what binds you people together. So this post title now, because we are looping through them, so it keeps repeating. If you say let you select a particular one and update it, it will pick just the first item that it needs and update it. It will just pick that first item and update it. So for us not to have that kind of scenario, what we did is this is great. What we did is we now had to select all using query selector all. When we selected all the post titles, we also selected all the post bodies since they are repeating. Now we now had to compare the index. So you're passing in the item, which is the title. So this post title is an array. That's why I'm doing a for each on it. And I'm saying check the index. If you add 1 to this index, is it going to be equals to the post ID that we are passing inside here? So you need to pass the ID so that it knows that this is the particular post you're editing. So when you do that, you now have to change the text content, what is being displayed. This text content, you can look it up, text content. So this particular item, which is titled, so this is like your E inside here. It's like your E inside here. So when you do that, you now change the text content. You now assign the title that is coming in from this object, because it's an object that you get from an update. Okay. Yes. So I think we need to actually practice it. So I'm explaining so much. I was able to I actually figured a couple of things out yesterday, so that's why I'm just doing it. You're supposed to start something else now, and I think you'll be introduced to something else. So you'll be introduced to something else soon. So if after I drop off, Mr. Frank will continue something new with you. So this was just supposed to be me just explaining this. So the same thing you do for your post title, you do for your post body, and that works. For delete, it's still the same thing. You just need to go through it and just try it out. You will understand what is happening. I hope we are good. So we'll just practice it. And if we have questions, you just reach out. In the meantime, you guys should submit. Try and complete the assignment and submit it. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. So it's just an introduction. So from there, so Mr.
Hello everyone. Good morning. I hope you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. So a big thank you to Mr. Ogo for that revision on JavaScript and calling APIs. Okay, so we'll be doing a brief introduction into React with the few minutes we have left. So I will make on a note here. Okay, it's just React. It's not something that's very difficult. Okay, you guys already know JavaScript. So at least React is not going to be much of an issue for you guys. On and off here. All right. So before I start, so I just want to say something. So if you know you have actually done React before, you have touched React before, you have looked at React before, React don't pass you for eye small before, just raise your hand. Let's see, or just put an emoji in the comment section. Let's see. Okay, Akim Obola. All right. Who else? Is there only one person? Hello. Can you even hear me, sir?
Yes, we can hear you, boss.
Hey.
Okay, so thank God you guys can hear me. So nobody don't do React for here apart from Akim Bopola. Eh? He tried it and he had to even run away. Wahala deal. Okay. This, the good thing about CodeCamp is that we always make you try things and we always make it very simple for you to understand. So, when I not fear React, it's not that difficult. Okay, just be coming down. Just be coming down. We'll take it step by step. Yeah. Okay. So, first of all, React is a JavaScript library. So what do I mean by React is JavaScript library? React is built on JavaScript. So it's supposed to make front-end web development a lot more easier. Okay, so that's what React is. And React is one of those popular JavaScript libraries. It is not a framework. Okay, so there are many frameworks built on JavaScript. So please, if you know what a framework is, raise your hand. Let's know where we are. Anybody knows what a framework is? Okay, at least there is hope. Okay. Okay, so yes, React is a JavaScript library built on JavaScript. It is not a framework, so which means it is not very bogus. It's just something that you use with HTML, CSS, and makes it very easy for you to do front-end projects. Okay, React is actually an open source project created by Facebook. So And like I said, React is used for front end. Also, React also uses the MVC architecture. So what do we mean? It's a model view controller. So it kind of makes working with front-end applications a lot more easier. So most of the things you guys are doing with JavaScript now, React is kind of making it easier. So, and just so you know, you don't really need much to dive into React. Okay, you don't need much to dive into React. All you need is to have a basic understanding of JavaScript. Just a basic understanding of JavaScript, which you guys already have now. And yes, you're good to go. Okay, so one of the most important aspects of React is the fact that you can create components. So let's say, let me try and break it down. Please, if I'm going too fast, just let me know so that I can actually break it down for you guys so you understand very well. Okay, so React is basically like components. We use components most of the time in React. So what do I mean? Let's say, for example, you have a card or you have a navigation bar and you want to build your navigation bar across a website with about 20 pages more. Okay, let's say like those who are in stage 7 now who went through that project, they had to do a lot. So with React, you could actually cut your project into different components. Okay, so I think I'm going to share my screen now so that I can actually show you guys what I mean by cutting your project into different components, so it does not sound like one very big something. People should not fear. No, it's just React. React is not hard though. All these things people are doing. Eh? Okay, let me get a picture that's actually going to show this very well so you guys actually see it and know what we're talking about. Okay. Alright. Give me a few minutes. Alright. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so like I said, React is a component-based library, and React can makes it easy for you to work with front-end projects, like very, very easy. Okay, so before I start, I don't know, I don't want to dive into React and start coding immediately. I want to explain React little by little so that you guys will actually understand it. Now, React has four basic, or since React is a library, React has four basic APIs that was used to build React. I think for you to actually understand React, you need to understand those four basic concepts very well. And I think that is states. You need to understand states. You need to understand uh, states, you need to understand components, you need to understand props. Okay, yes, and how to use routing. Yeah, for now, I think those are just those are the four main things that you need to understand to use React very well, and it's very, very easy to work with. So that's basically it. So if you are confused in any way, you can just ask a question now before I continue. Any questions at the moment? No questions. All right, so let me continue. I hope you guys can still hear me. All right,
Yes.
so okay. All right, so like I said, That's what React basically is. Okay, so we React. Okay, Victor, calm down. Don't worry. React is not that difficult. Okay, trust me. The reason why I say it's not difficult is because we'll make it easy for you. So it's something you're going to use for the
I can't hear you, sir.
basics that you need to understand. What are those basics that you need to understand? Let's just say uh, you need to know a little bit about calling APIs and JavaScript. Once you see that JavaScript syntax, you need to understand it. Okay, but since this is going to be an introductory lecture, I will actually be putting up some things where I think you guys need to go and read up about before we start the next lecture. Because by then, I think you guys that's where we'll be diving into using React full time. So that's when we'll start coding. So it doesn't look like it's actually going to be very big or much of an issue. So um, I think I'll be leaving a link for you guys. I'll be leaving a link for you guys on things you guys need to read up about to know more about React or what you need to understand to be able to use React very well. Okay, so I'll be dropping the links in the chat sections little by little. So as you're seeing it, just be copying it and be keeping it somewhere so that later on you guys can just go read up about it and then you can understand what you need to do with React. So uh, I think I'll be dropping the first link now. The first thing you guys need to understand is about variables. So about let, const, var, and you guys already know that. So this is the first link. Okay. All right. So okay. So all right. Okay. So I think I will go with best options. I will just drop everything in the resources channel on Slack so that everything is actually going to be easy for you guys. But first things first, you don't really need much to go into React. Okay. All you need to do is have a basic understanding of variables. You need to know ES6. So you just need to do a little bit of, you need to know a little bit of ES6. Now, when I say ES6, what do I mean? Uh, that's like the recent version of JavaScript where you have things like arrow functions. You guys might have been using it, but then you don't know that this is what it is. So you have like arrow functions. I'll drop those links and then I'll show you guys how to use it. And then you need to know how to work with objects and arrays using rest and spread. And then you need to know about objects and array destructuring, template literal, classes in JavaScript, callbacks. I think you guys have done promises, async and await when you're calling APIs. And then lastly but not the least, and I think that's kind of like important, you need to know about ES6 modules because that's how React actually works. ES6 modules is a way of linking a lot of JavaScript files and writing them in little chunks and then linking them together to one file. So that way it makes your project run faster in your browser? Okay, best, calm down. Yes, yeah, you get plenty things they want and don't do very soon. I don't know the names. Don't worry, we'll just by the time I drop that link for you guys will actually look at it. Okay, async and await. Okay, async and await. Those are what's used for promises and calling APIs. Okay, so it's more of like a web API that supports or that JavaScript supports. So I'll leave a link for you guys on what you guys will read about. So Chidiogo, don't worry, I'll leave a link for you on async and await so you guys can read up about it. Okay, this is where you guys have to put in more work. All right, it's not very difficult, but then you have to put in extra effort. This is not like JavaScript and all, so you have to do a lot of reading on your own so you can actually cover up. All right, so if the terms sound a little bit unfamiliar, if you should just don't worry, just take it easy. We'll go about it little by little. Now, as a web developer, as a web developer, uh, you definitely need at least the basic understanding of React. Now, these are the reasons why you need it because React is a very popular uh, library in, and one of the things why you need React is because if you want to get jobs now, one of the technologies you need to learn is React. Okay, so React is used, it's very popular, it has very good support. Also, with React, you could do a lot. And most of the companies where you're working with, they will need React because most of the projects they've actually been doing actually been done with React. And also, most frameworks and I think you need to know. These are just the basic things you need to know to be able to use React very well. Okay, so with that, nobody. Ah, are you serious? Command line, no, it's not like it's this, you know.
Please, I didn't get what you said the other time. The network was breaking.
Okay, I said if you know you have a little bit of experience using the command line. Okay, where did you guys not hear me? Let me know. Eh? Uh, where did you guys lose me, or where did I lose you guys? Hello.
I think it was
Can
when
you
you were
hear?
asking the question.
Okay. So my question was, does anybody have a brief knowledge or a little understanding about the command line? How to use the command line very well? Does anyone?
Yeah, I make use of command line once in a while.
Okay. Okay, Akimbowola, you make use of command line. All right, very good. So apart from Akimbowola, nobody else again. So let's say, you know, people, now don't use Git before now, have you? Now, so Git is still part of using the command line, like terminal. It's not about aside Git and npm. With npm, that is still command line because okay, okay, okay. So I think this is what we're actually going to start from. We'll be starting. I don't know whether I will start with command line with una first before I enter the Git set, before I enter this thing proper. Okay, so first of all, I think I'll use this first class, these few minutes we have before the class is over, and do a little brief introduction about using how to use the command line. Okay, to do that, let's see. Let me share my screen so you can see what I'm working on. Okay. All right, so okay, so you guys can see my screen, right? All right, so let me open terminal. Okay, so I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay. All right, so now I am using Ubuntu, so this is Ubuntu's terminal. So please, those who are using Windows, I think I'll be showing, I think I'll also drop a link in the sources channel on how to use command line for Windows so you guys don't get lost. But if you're using Mac or Ubuntu, I think you're in luck because this tutorial is actually going to help you out very well. Okay. Can you guys hear me? I beg. I just give me small response to that. I don't see.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
All right. Okay. So first things first. When using the command line, I hope you guys can see the terminal I opened on the other side.
Yes, we can see it.
All right. Very good. Okay. Now, one of the first things you need to know in the command line is how to navigate between different folders. So the command line basically is just like using your file explorer, but the only difference between the command line and your file explorer is that the command line you use commands, but with your file explorer it's more of a graphical interface where you just have to click and then you know what you're doing and then you see what you're doing. But with the command line, if you don't really know what you're doing, it's actually going to be a lot more difficult. Now, you don't need much about the command line to be able to do what you want to do. So first things first, you need to know how to navigate between um, folders. Now, you have to know which folder you're currently in to start with. Now, how do you know which folder you're currently in to start with? There is a command called ls. So ls, when you type ls is supposed to like list out all the folders and the files, okay, in your home directory. So once I click enter, it shows me everything I'm actually doing, everything that's actually in my home directory. That's where it opens it out for me. Okay, so okay, Chidiogo, don't be scared. Command line is not very difficult. So I hope you guys understood what I just did from my screen, from what I'm showing you guys.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Okay, very good. All right, now, so what you guys are seeing that's written in blue are my folders. Now, this one that's written in white, that's written in parentheses, is a file, a text file, and then the rest there are folders. Now, if you notice something, the file here, you see that it's written in quotes because there is actually a space in between. There's a Kinross Gold Mining space details. Now, there's how command line works. Command line, everything has to be written on one line as one word. So if you're actually going to give spaces in between your words, you're going to have to put them in quotes. Either you're using the command line or using a terminal. Either way, that's how you do it. So let's say, for example, I want to create a file. Now, it's very easy. Now, what do I do? Okay, let me go into my workspace directory where all my projects are handled. So now, how do I move from my current directory to my workspace directory? I hope you guys can see workspace there. This is workspace. This is workspace. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we
can.
Okay, can you guys see what I'm doing?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah,
All
now
right,
you're
so
doing anything now.
calm down. I'm trying to take it easy so that you guys understand. Okay, so you guys can see this workspace folder, right? Now, for me to actually go into this workspace folder, this is what I have to do. I write cd space the name of the folder. Now, with the command line or the terminal, if you're trying to write something and that thing is generic, meaning workspace, there is only one particular folder named workspace. If I click on tab, it's actually going to complete it for me, but I could just continue writing workspace here, and then I click on enter, and now I am in the workspace directory. You see that there's a change. Before there was nothing here, and now there's / workspace here, as you guys can see. I hope that was not magic. I hope you guys understand that.
Yes.
All right, very good. Okay, now I'm inside the workspace directory. Now there are many things we could do with the command line. Like I said, it's basically like using your file explorer, but this time you're the one who will be typing the commands yourself. So basically, when you try to create a file or a folder using your file explorer, this is what happens behind the scene. It's always like let's say it's always like how do I put it? This is what your computer does behind the scenes to actually help you understand what you're doing. Okay, so now I'm actually going to show you guys how to create a folder and create a file inside that particular folder. Okay. All right, let's do that. All right, so first things first, to do that using the terminal, you use this command. The command you use is touch. Touch. Now, let's create a folder. I could call this demo folder. Now, if I create this, it creates this demo folder. Now, if I use ls again and I list the projects I have, you're going to see a lot. Now, the demo folder is here. Let's see. Let me open my file explorer so that you guys see what actually happened. So this is my home directory and this is my workspace. Okay. All right. So I hope you guys can see this file explorer I'm showing you guys here. Now, sorry, let me see. Now this is the demo folder I just created using the command line. I hope you can see that. Okay, let me close this. But now what it created was a file. Now, so like I said, with your command line, you can actually create anything. So you could use touch. and you could create any file at all. Now, let's say you want to create an HTML file or whatever, you could just say touch and then create the folder or the file you want to create. Now, let's say I say demo.html, and if I save, it creates that demo.html file for me, which is what you're seeing here. I hope you guys actually understand what I'm doing now. I just created two files. The first one was demo folder, the second was demo.html. I hope I'm not going too fast. Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can see you.
All right, very good. Let me know if I'm not going too fast or too slow. Now, I want to actually go into one of the folders. Okay. Uh, let's see. Now, there's a folder here called toots. Okay. Now, I'm actually going to say cd and go into toots. Now, if I do ls, see that there's files and folders inside. Now, I think I've actually done this like 2 or 3 times now already. This is how you create files, and this is how you move into folders using the command line. Now, one other thing you also have to take notice of using the command line. Basically, this is basically all you'll be doing using React. Most of the time you're working with VS Code, so it's not like you're going to be doing much at the moment. Okay, but now it's looking a little bit messy, so I'm actually going to clear the command line, and to do that I use the command clear, and it's going to clear up everything that I've actually done so far that you're seeing now. Now I'm just in the tools folder. Now one thing, now to create a React project, I hope you guys understood what I just did with the command line. I just did a basic I just did something basic so that you guys can actually see how you create files and how you move into folders using the command line, because sometimes you might actually need to do that. I'll still drop a link to a tutorial for you guys on how to use the command line very well in the resource channel, together with what you need to learn, those basic prerequisites you need to learn to be able to use React very well. Okay, so you guys just bear with me for now on that. Now, to create a React project, it's more like using npm, but this time you won't use npm, you use npx. Okay, so it's a npx create React app, then the name of the app you want to create. So I could just call this demo, and now click enter. And it is going to take a while to create this React app, depending on how good my network is. Let's hope the network. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can now.
You guys can hear me now. All right. So please, where did you guys lose me, or where did you guys have issues in the first place? Or in case you didn't hear anything, let me know if I can refresh back again.
Depending on your network.
Okay, depending on my network. Okay, so I was saying how to create a React app, but I think I forgot one very important details, that for you to be able to use React, you need to have npm and Node.js installed on your laptop first of all before you can actually use um, React with npx. Okay, so like I was saying, first I was trying to show you guys how to create a normal React app from scratch, what to do. Now the command you have to use is npx create React app, then the name of the React app you want to create. So what happens is that it it creates kind of like a boilerplate code, like everything is going to be inside a folder. All the things you need for prerequisites to use your React app is actually going to be created for you automatically using the command line. Now that's one of the benefits of using the command line, and you have to use the command line to create your React app because as a front-end developer, that's one of the skills you need to use. Okay, so I'm just trying to go over it over and again so that you guys will actually understand. So I hope you guys actually get the point of what I'm trying to pass across. Okay. All right. Okay, so good. All right, so basically this is how you create a React app. Let me just see. Let's wait while the command line finishes loading, then I show you guys how it looks like in VS Code. Okay, so while that is actually going on, I will entertain your questions. So please, if you have questions, now be the time to ask. Any questions at all, just ask while this actually goes on in the background. Anywhere that you actually have consent or that's actually, just ask your questions actually if you have any questions to ask. All right, Chidio, go. Yes, go on.
Okay, good morning, Frank. Please, how normally I use Window. I use Window PowerShell, like that's my own.
Okay.
And when I open your name is displaying on it. Where do you get it to display your name?
Okay, now the reason why mine is showing like this is because I am using a an Ubuntu terminal. Okay, now you're using Windows, so it might not necessarily show like this, except if you use a terminal app like the Git Bash on your Windows. That's when it's actually going to show like this. Now mine is showing like that because this is my PC and that's my PC name. Okay, so if you're going to be using terminal, I'll actually drop a a link on how to use the command line on Windows, okay, and things you need to watch out for and how to navigate through your command line on Windows. Okay, so I hope that answers your question for now. Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, I understand actually. It's
Okay.
actually displaying differently. I can see that, but they are almost doing similar thing. The CD, the LS, they are equally opening
Yes.
and listing items.
Okay, yes, definitely. That's how it's actually supposed to be. But I don't know if touch is actually going to work on Windows. But if it doesn't, I'll still get the link for you guys to on what to do. No, trust me, React app no they consume data like that. It doesn't consume much data when you want to open. Muna, calm down. Muna, no worry. It's not that difficult. Okay, so any more questions? Yes, touch will not work on Windows. Touch will not work on Windows. I'll actually show you guys how to use. I think, like I said, I'll drop a link so that you guys will know how to use either Windows or whichever one you're working with. Okay, for now, touch won't work on Windows. Touch is more of, I think, Linux and Mac. Okay, Timilaine, your question.
Okay, yeah. So I wanted to ask, like, you are trying to solve something now, and maybe we keep on trying, and it's not going. Is there like maybe an advice on what to do? Like maybe you try and do something for like 3 hours and it's not working. Like in cases like that, what's the best solution? Is it to stop doing it, rest? Is it to like what should we do at that
Okay,
point?
okay. So you're saying you're trying to do something. Okay, just be more specific. Like, is it with JavaScript or you're trying to debug code?
Yeah, with JavaScript, and you're trying to like debug a code and know what's the problem with what you did or
uh,
something,
and it's not working.
and it's not working. Yeah.
See, just relax, just go and pour water on your head and just calm down. Just relax, pour water on your head, rest, calm down. Let's see if it's not working, it's because your brain is overheating. You just need to calm down so that you have a clearer view of everything later on. Once you calm down, if possible, self eat and sleep. Then when you wake up, now go back to the code. You find that it works like magic. Okay. But basically, whenever you try to do something and it doesn't work with your code, you just need to calm down and go over it later on once you're calm. That way you'll be able to see what you're doing wrong or what you were supposed to have done. You might be surprised. You might be surprised, sir. It might be just one semicolon that's causing your issue. Okay. All right. Timile, I hope that answers your
Yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
But basically, you just have to calm down before, whenever you want to code. Okay. You need to be calm. Don't let the pressure of the code get to you. If you try it and it doesn't work and you've been on it for a very long time, just calm down. Then later on, you go back to do it. Okay. All right. So at the moment, I think the React has finished loading. Okay. So now let me try and open this React project using VS Code. Now to do that, if you have Node installed on your PC, you can actually type this and it will work for VS Code. If you type code on either your command line or your terminal, code space full stop. Yeah, code space full stop. You type that and you click on enter. It is actually supposed to open VS Code in the browser. Oh, sorry, if I say VS Code in your browser. Okay, supposed to open VS Code for you. I hope you guys can see what I'm actually showing you guys here. All right, so this demo folder here is actually the React project I just created now. Now, inside this React project, you have 3 folders. You have your node modules folder, you have your public folder, and you have your SRC folder. Now, this is basically all you need to do to create a React app. Now, in the next class, I'm actually going to explain everything from scratch, because by then I would have believed that you guys would have gone over the prerequisites of what I'm actually going to be passing across to you guys to go through. Okay? Will that be okay for you guys? So I don't fill your head with knowledge and you can't remember much anymore. Is that okay?
Okay.
All right, because our time is almost up already, and I don't want to go. I don't exceed the time limit. All right, so for now, this is where I'll actually stop the class. On Thursday, when we come back, that's where we'll now continue with how to create a React. We'll go over how to create a React app again. Okay, I think let me just open it with live server so that you guys can see what it looks like. All right, so first of all, I will cd into the demo folder, and then I'll open it with VS Code again. And after opening with VS Code, so you guys can actually see what the project folder looks like. Then to actually run your React project, what you have to do is you have to type npm start, and you're good to go. So it's more like using live server on what's it called? It's more like using live server on VS Code, but this time it has been configured with its own live server already. So basically, can you see my screen? Can you see my browser? So this is basically what
Yes.
a React. This is basically what a React app looks like once you load it for the first time. Now I know there's a lot of tension. What this is React. Though. People should not allow that psychological damage just get to you. React is not very difficult. It's very easy. On the next class, I'll break everything down to you guys step by step, so you guys can actually understand what you need to know to be able to use React very well. Okay. All right. So that's going to be that for now on this class. Um, I'll be dropping the links in the resource channel once I'm done. All right. So thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for not freaking out on the first class. Okay, so I think I'll see you guys on Thursday. That's when we'll start properly. So please, for those who actually read the resources I'm actually going to do for you guys, there's going to be giveaway on Thursday. So if you're going to partake in the giveaway, read and understand the material so you can actually understand. Okay, Cecilia, but because of time reasons, will not be going on with it. I beg. All right, so this is where I got. So IK can actually continue from here for now.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Franklin. Okay, so quick one. This is just a very important announcement to everyone on the web track front-end actually. So yes, stage 8 is upon us. Final stage is upon us actually. So I want to encourage you guys. CodeCamp mentors has been a bit, we have been actually lenient, understanding, trying to carry everyone along. But this is me informing you guys for stage 8, there will be no carrying along. Okay. When the task that would lead you to stage 8 is given and you don't submit, there are two things. Number one, if you miss the submission deadline, there is no stage 8 for you. You miss the submission deadline, there is no stage 8 for you. That's number one. Secondly, if you don't score 85 and above on your task, there is no project phase. That's stage 8 for you also. So two things you need is you need to submit on time, and then you need to score at least 85 on your task for you to be able to qualify for the project phase. Okay, so that's actually the information I have for you. I know some of you are like, or more. Yes, of course, it's the project phase. We get to build real stuff, but we have to work with persons who really, really want this. Okay, so yeah, so that's that. And of course, if you are not in stage 8 by that time, don't worry, just learn. We're not going to chase you out of the platform. Okay, you can just keep on learning. There's no issue with that, but you will not participate in the final stage. The final stage is not a stage where we'll be lenient at all. We will not be lenient. So do well to try as much as possible to understand what you're being taught. The task that will be given for you to move to stage 8. Okay, it's kind of like, okay, fine, this is what we want to do to filter the persons we need for the project phase. So of course, it's not going to be everybody. I just hope that CodeCamp mentors will not be seen as bad persons at this point. So we'll get to select 17 persons. You know that we have actually tried as much as possible to carry everyone along. Okay, so I apologies if you feel like I'm the bearer of bad news. Okay, so thank you guys very much. I really hope to see you guys in the final stage. Okay, yeah, we're rounding up, just a month plus to go. Have a wonderful day, and of course, if you're having any issues, please try as much as possible to reach out to your mentors. Okay, so have a nice day. Thank you.